Hi, Jesse here, this time reporting from my barn. Now today is going to be part one of the series where I'm going to be restoring the old 19th century drop leaf table that I have that I'm going to be filling in the leaves that were missing when we picked it up off the side of the road. Now I already went ahead and I found a place not too far from my home who actually milled up some of this black walnut. And what really caught my attention particularly was this piece, which is 9 feet long and it is 26 inches wide. So a really nice piece to work from, as well as this piece right here, which is 10 feet long and about 13 inches wide. Now the gap in the table is 60 inches. So I really chose to go with 3 leaves that I'm going to actually be manufacturing so that we can either have a 2-foot section in the middle or a full extended table, which will be 18 inches on one side, 24 in the middle, and 18 on the other side. And the only thing I really have to do before I get started is I need to remove some of the outside edges on these boards because there is some of the pith from the outside rings of the tree that are still remaining on here. So I do not want any of this white or light colored walnut to be part of the table, because if you remember, the table is quite dark and it's a chocolate kind of brown color. So even though that this board does not look that dark, this is also because it's been sitting and it hasn't been planed down yet. So the first step I'm going to take here is use my track saw to get these down to size. And then from there, I'm gonna send them over to the planer so I can start sizing them up appropriately. So let's get started. All right, so now we have our pieces cut. We are now going to go over to the table saw and square them up. So right now I have 2 pieces that are about the length that I need and about the width, but I'm going to use my table saw in this particular spot just so I can make sure that the edges are square. My track saw isn't quite doing it for me, so this will give me a nice seam down the middle. And then 2 pieces that I have back there that are about 18 inches wide. I'm gonna rip those down the middle after I square off the edges. And then some of the final cleanup will be cutting them to length, just in case if there's any adjustment that needs to be made. I left a little bit room for that. Okay, so I got all the widths cut. Now I'm just going to take this 18-inch piece, rip it down the middle, and then that way that'll be my seam once I plane these all together, and that will be one solid leaf. So I have 6 pieces here and they're still about 1 inch thick. So I'm gonna go ahead and send these through the planer. I'm going to set that just above 3/4 of an inch. That'll give me enough room so I can sand down to 600 grit, maybe a little bit higher at the very end when I finish this off. So I want it perfectly flat and square when I'm all done. So I'm gonna go ahead and send this onto the planer. The first thing you wanna make sure you have is some eye goggles and a mask for sure. Walnut dust can make you really sick if you have too much of it. So it's a good precaution to go ahead and put this on, and this thing's probably gonna generate a decent amount of dust. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna throw a couple pieces through just so you can kind of see how it looks once we get that milled finish off the top. Okay, I'm about 15 passes now through the planer. And just a note of caution too, walnut is super tough wood, so you really want to take it easy on your planer. You probably don't want to take more than a 32nd or a 64th, just to make sure you don't absolutely ruin something that is really useful around your wood shop. So I got the pieces just about done. I got one more pass, and I certainly want to show you exactly how it looks at the end, because you'll be pretty impressed, I think. And you can just see by the color of my dust mask here. Wait until you see the pile of shavings that I have. So I will go ahead and finish this up real quick. Okay, so now I'm down to my final thickness on the planer, and you can see from these boards here, they came out absolutely spectacular. And straight out of the planer, because I had just changed the blades on this planer, it actually gave me a pretty much sanded down to 200 grit already. So any other finish that I do once I get this set on the actual table itself is just going to be getting that thickness down exactly the way I wanted. So I'm going to take these boards now, cut them down exactly the size that I need, which is 43 5/16. That will give me the width on the table. Then I'm going to go ahead and joint them up downstairs in my basement. I'll walk through that process real quick, but just so you can see, this is just how much dust and shavings that I generated just from sending those 6 pieces through the planer. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on the next section, and then we'll go ahead and get ready for the final assembly. Okay, so we're back in the shop, and I've already taken the liberty of laying out the dowels that I'm gonna use to join the 2 boards together for each leaf that I'm going to be making. So over here I have 4 spots laid out just like on the table. There's basically 4 dowel holes, and I'm going to basically mimic that. We don't need too much strength, but enough to hold the boards together. So I laid out 4 spots here, and I'm going to use this fancy dowel jig. This thing works great. I've used it quite a few times. It's spot on. All you have to do is line the 2 boards up and make a line. So I already have on here a 3/8 inch bit. This I put also a collar on here so I don't put the drill bit too deep when I'm going ahead and drilling the holes. And then all I'm going to do is go ahead and get started. And you can see now I have the dowel holes all set. I'm going to go ahead and do the other piece, and then I'll go ahead and show you the glue up for the next step. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. I'm just going to line these up with the first hole. So now you can see we have a nice long glue line here. And I'm just going to take a wet paper towel and clean this off. Let this sit for about a half an hour. Repeat the process on the other piece. And then for the next step, we're going to go back out to the table, line up those dowel holes so we can get the leaves aligned perfectly. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and start sanding and making this a complete table. So stick around for part 2, and if you like what you're watching, please continue to subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing right now, and thanks again for watching.